Hello and thank you for joining us. You're listening to a Wedotalk with David Jaques.
Hi, welcome to this week's Wedotalk. And back in San Diego, and one of the reasons that I'm here is that this is the annual conference of an organization called BNI, which is Business Network International, which has brought many people together. And through this organization, we've met a lot of very good people and very talented and interesting people. And one of those people is Adam Kent, who's joining me today. So Adam, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
And Adam, you're actually from Las Vegas.
That's home. Yeah. Vegas is home, yes.
Yeah. And by means of introduction, Adam is the founder, CEO of Invictus Consulting. That's actually a relatively recent thing in your life, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 years old, essentially. Yeah. Kicked off in 2019.
Yeah. Because I look at your website, it looks like a very well-established company with, a lot of content and a lot of good things and your approach and everything. We'd love to hear a little bit more about that. But you and I have something in common. We're both immigrants here in the US. I came from the UK. You have Japanese and Australian and American blood in you. So, So you say Las Vegas is home. Is that home for now, or is there somewhere else that feels like home?
I think home, what do they say? Home is where the people are to some extent. I got a lot of family spread across the states from Utah, Vegas to Oregon. And I wanted to be close to the family, right? Yeah.
So you were born in Japan?
Yes.
But you grew up in Australia?
Yeah. So my father and mother started a company. They went to college in Japan, started a company there, built it up quite successfully. It was a company called Phoenix Associates, HR and training firm. They work with some of the big companies. I think their first company was Bank of America that they work with, if I remember correctly. But growing up there, it was awesome. We sort of in a little suburb where there was ASIJ, which was American school in Japan. And so learned my English there, American English, everything else. And then they wanted to give us some different opportunities. So they thought, America or Australia? And my mom's the Aussie side, and we went to Sydney, and they're like, yeah, let's move to Sydney. So I think I was about 8 years old, and we relocated and moved to Sydney, Australia. And I spent the rest of my childhood and teenage years and stuff like that there.
Good. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I got an older brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a family move from Japan to Australia with 3 kids.
Yeah.
That would be pretty major. As a parent myself, that would be something that would be pretty phenomenal to do. But to me, a great gift to your kids is the gift of travel and the gift of living in different places.
Absolutely, and I didn't realize it till obviously being older, but my dad stayed in Japan, basically coming back and forth running the company. So it was really all on my mom moving us there and managing everything, and we weren't the easiest to deal with. Yeah.
But in Australia, so growing up there, you went through school, through regular school, but you kind of met a few road bumps in your teenage years. Would you share with us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the most part, it was kind of, I think a lot of people can relate to the struggle of finding belonging, especially as kids. You feel alone, or you feel like people don't maybe understand you, whatever it might look like, right? It's different for us all, but it's very similar at the same time. And, moving from a very, obviously an Asian country, I didn't even know I was like half Australian or whatever when I moved there. I started to learn, really trying to find belonging and find where do I get along with people? Where's home for me? Like who are my friends? And I found myself in the wrong crowds, as you do. And so I was like hanging out literally from like 9 years old, 10 years old even, whatever, and just hanging out with a bunch of people, and got into a bunch of trouble, and ended up basically being shot in a drive-by. And that was the real catalyst in my life of like sitting there going, holy crap, like I really need to grow up. I really, like, this isn't where I want to go. This isn't the life I want. And so just making the changes and the shifts, and Jesus, that's a tough thing when you're stuck in that mindset. But, I always say, give credit where credit due. And I love sharing this because I get to say, some good things about my mom, right? But she basically got me this book, and it was by Alan and Barbara Pease, called Body Language. And she's like, you need to read this, this might help you and everything. So I started reading it. I was like, oh my God, this stuff is amazing. Like, holy crap, like there's ways to actually understand people better and understand ourselves and the entire way we communicate and operate. And I was just so fascinated. And so I just kind of dove into the world of communication and body language and just understanding the dynamics of how we operate as human beings.
Right. Yeah.
All the challenges and yeah.
Wow. So that was the catalyst to get you to take perspective on your life and want to do better. Did you go back into formal education at that point?
I did try. The academics to me didn't really match too well, but again, my mom, just bless her, she came up to me and she's like, I think I was about 19 at that point, and I'm like still kind of on that road, and she's like, you got to check this place out, and this place called the Australian College of Applied Psychology. And I read this stuff, and it had like interpersonal skills, it had conflict resolution, mediation, just all these incredible topics. I'm just like, wow, this looks amazing. But I think in America they call it 4.0 GPA, right? It's like 100% or something. And in our neck of the woods, they use just 100%, right? And so this college needed 85% UAI to get in. I'm like, how am I going to do that? And screw it, I'm gonna have a conversation. So met with the admin, sat down, and I'm just gonna share my story, and and then it'll make sense. Cool. So I shared some of my background, some of the obstacles going through, some of the crazy stories and crazy experiences as a kid, and I'm like, and that's why I'm here, is because I don't want that no more. I want my life to go this way, and I'm doing everything I can. And she's like, no one's ever walked in here and had that kind of conversation. Screw it, let's do it. So she accepted me into the college, and I was like, oh my God, and started studying there and just doing all sorts of stuff, and it was really cool because for the first time in my life I was actually very dedicated to the actual academic system and trying to do better and getting distinctions and credits, and I'm all proud of myself. And a professor ended up even pulling me aside and hiring me, and he's like, I want you to work with me. And he was an HR company, an HR consultant. So he hired me, and we got to work together, and I created effective communication, organizational behavior, and personality profiling workshops. Started running some of those, and it was my job working with them. And then unfortunately the young immature side of me still got the better of me, and I'm like, screw this place, I can't do this, they're all the same, they're out to get me and everything else. And I walked out, didn't graduate, and I left it. Started working in a company, straight in sales. A friend got me a job, my best friend at the time, Human, and he got me a job, and it was in like TVs and all that kind of stuff. And so the boss hired me, started working with him. Number one sales day one, this is awesome, making money. 3 months later, I'm running the team. 9 months later, we broke some records, transferred out, and was asked to move to a store 4 times the size with them to do the same stuff. So went to Queensland for that instead of Sydney, moved out of there finally. When we were there, had a family business that I ended up getting involved with, and they're struggling, and increased sales by about 150% in like a matter of months. And my brother's very academic, done a lot of amazing stuff in his life academically, like master's degrees, everything. On the other hand, I've been very much black sheep and school of hard knocks. And he's like, well, you haven't gotten any education, you need a coach. I'm like, okay, because I've always learned unconventionally. I didn't know what a coach was at that time. I'm like, let's do this. So walk into the session, day one, this group program with a bunch of other business owners. And all I can say is that, like, within an hour, my jaws dropped. I'm unbelievably humbled and realized how much arrogance I had as this young 25-year-old know-it-all and everything else. And
Didn't really know it.
Oh my God. It's like, oh my God, I was just humbled. It was the most incredible experience. My coach, little plug, his name's Simon Bell out of Brisbane in Australia, and just an incredible human being. He's a mentor, a friend, a brother to me still today, and I'm so grateful because his leadership, his belief in me, and his ability to coach effectively was what really started the transformation of my life and brought me here to where I am today. And I give so much credit to him. And I mean, he really believed in me. He challenged me, and he didn't let me get in my own way. Yeah. And the conversations and the coaching he gave me, my jaws dropped. Like, oh my God! I realized how much I didn't know, and that's the moment I realized, I'm like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Yeah. That's what I want to do. Yeah. What he did for me is what I want to do for others. Yeah. And a couple years later, he ended up, actually taking over and got the licensing for the Gold Coast for this company in the coaching firm. And I was very fortunate. He called me up and he's like, come work with me. Dropped everything in a heartbeat. I think moved to the Gold Coast within 2 weeks. And also just transferred out, took like a 60% pay cut from what I was doing just to be with him and learn and grow and develop, and best decision I could have made. And from that point on, it was almost a decade ago now, but from that point on, really got to just start to develop, work with hundreds of companies, make a difference to so many people, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, and that seems to be the recurring theme, is working with people, helping people to be better while helping yourself to be better, learning new skills. And something that I'm a big believer in, one of my big philosophies, is you have to believe in yourself and surround yourself with people that believe in you.
Yeah.
And there's so much negativity out there, and it's so easy to be negative about yourself and to have other people be negative about you. But you have to have that resilience, and you have to be able to have that belief and the trust, not only in yourself, and to find a mentor, which is a key thing.
Yeah. I think you said it best with the whole, you know, I mean, yeah, you believe in yourself, but there's so many moments when you don't, and having someone that believes in you makes all the difference. And I think that's really what did it for me, was like Simon, again, just like, he didn't let it go, you know. It was just, he's incredible. Like, a real coach makes a real difference.
Yeah.
And you know, I was so excited to just start to become one and learn to and develop and be one, because of the difference they can make in someone's life. Yeah, their business, everything.
So you created the business in Australia, and then you moved to the United States. What brought you to the US?
So didn't create it in Australia, created it here. Yeah.
Okay.
But what brought me here was a little bit of a sort of a traumatic story, but family had been disconnected for a long time. Created a family reunion in 2014 Christmas was actually, and got about 40 of us all together, all the family and friends and everybody, and we got together in Vegas, my aunt and uncle's place, and it was the most surreal, most incredible, most joyful experience. Like, I can't even express how incredible it was, and just full of love and everything. And you know, we're talking about all the future things to do, talking about, you know, who cares about the past? Let's just do some amazing things, and just so much incredible conversations and possibilities, I think, is the best way to put it.
And that comes back to that feeling of belonging.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then 3 months later, got a phone call. My father dropped dead of a brain aneurysm. That was it.
Oh, no.
Just shook us, all of us. He was the patriarch in every way in our family. When that happened, it was just like, oh my God, you know, and it made me really sit back and think about that all important question of like, what is actually the thing that matters most to you in life? And for me, I started thinking about it, and the one person that came to my mind was my grandmother on my dad's side, Jaques, like, you know. But yeah, she was just an incredible human being and such a role model, and if I had time to share her story alone, Jesus, what a story it is, you know, just wow. But she had the early onset, mild onset Alzheimer's, you know, mid 80s, and I was like, I can't lose that time. Time is everything. So, speaking of Simon, like, mate, I gotta go. I gotta be there closer. I gotta be there close to the family, and so he completely got it. And again, just so incredible as a mentor and a friend and everything. It was like, how do we do that? How do we get that done? And so by the end of 2015, it was already ready. Transferred out of everything I was doing with him. Packed up the bags, and I was in Vegas in 2016. Early 2016. Got to spend a lot of time with her, and
So it's been about 6 years you've been here in the US. And in many ways, it probably wasn't like moving to a foreign country, because you had some roots here and you had some connections here.
Yeah, I was lucky that way. Very fortunate that way, yeah. But it's like, you know, right? It's different visiting to living there.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a new...
Oh, yeah. No, and for my part, I don't know if you found the same thing. You kind of learnt American English, but I didn't. But when I moved from London to New York, I had a language problem. People didn't understand me.
Yes. Yes.
Because I had grown up with a lot of American TV, so I was used to it, and I could understand people. People in New York, I was in Manhattan, so people tend to talk very fast, they tend to talk loud. I'm not a natural fast, loud speaker. I had to kind of learn some of that. But I would say things, and I get this blank expression.
Oh my gosh, yes. Seriously, yes. I've gone to these restaurants, and there's you know, like you get Subway in, you know, in UK or whatever, and Oz, but you don't get all the selections of the different types of Subway restaurants like you get here.
Right.
I can't remember if it was like Port of something or other, or the Fire one or whatever it was, but I'm in there, and there's like, did you want chips with that? And I'm like, oh my God, you have chips with Subway stuff? I would love that, yes. And so I ordered it, got it, and they're like, yeah, just grab your bag of chips over there. You can choose which one you want. I'm like, oh. I got so disappointed because I was actually thinking it was hot chips.
Right, yeah.
You know, and it was so funny. And I got to be careful, you know, because you we can't go to the beach and wear our thongs here, right? Because people misinterpret that very quickly. So
because thongs in Australia are flip-flops.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've said that a number of times where people are like, you're going to wear what? I'm like, like flip-flop. Oh.
Yeah, I've had a few of those in my time, a few funny stories, but we can save those for another time.
Yeah.
So you moved to the US and you established yourself in Las Vegas, and that's home for you now. And how did Invictus start? What was the origin of that?
Pretty crazy story, I guess, there too, is got here about February or end of January 2016. A couple months in moving here, my uncle had lost his job, and he was in the construction industry. And with my background, having coached and worked strategy and structure with companies, we're like, maybe let's work together. So we ended up getting into business together and kicking off this company. And first 12 months of the company, we ended up 6-figure profits. Things were moving well. It was on its way to be like a 7-figure company, but there were really clearly just some certain things that we realized that wasn't working, some promises that weren't being kept, just some things that were just different than the reality you assume and you just take on when you trust people. And I was coaching on the side still for free for the main part with a lot of these local companies, and they're like, hey, I'd love to work with you. I'm like, no, this is my full focus. So I'd coach on the side because it's always what I'd love to do and wanted to do, and it was my intention to launch it straight away, if not for that. But I think I was fortunate because of that. I had a lot of people that were still supportive. BNI, actually, just to give them a little shameless plug here, is as soon as I opened that property maintenance company, the first thing I did was search out BNI. Like literally the first thing I did was like, I need to find BNI because I already experienced that in Australia and just so much success, so many amazing relationships and stuff. And so I'd already built a lot of relationships in a chapter in Vegas. And as soon as the crazy stuff happened with the family business, I reached out to the executive director, Leslie Taylor there, and had a chat with her. I'm like, listen, I need to talk to you. And again, just the whole giver's gain attitude, I'm eternally grateful. She was just like, look, this is what we do. Come here, let's talk about this, let's do this, let's get you involved with this, I'll connect you with this. And just everything was just about how do I make a difference to you? And I was in a position, I'm like, I gotta kind of really, so I need help. And my chapter, there's a few people in there specifically, and I mean, one to mention is Peak Image Designs Marketing, who built my website and mentioned it looked good, so thank you. And Brandon will be happy to hear that. But a lot of people band together and really supported me through that hard time. And I'm so grateful and so lucky to have that kind of relationship with the people. But that is BNI in so many ways, is people band together like that, and they're professionals and they're reliable and they're credible and they care,
And once again, it's that recurring theme of finding your people, finding a place that you feel you belong, you have the connection.
Yeah. And
really using that to thrive.
Yeah, in many ways, and it was just so lucky, and so that really boosted me. And that was 2019, and funny thing is, it was Friday the 13th of September 2019 was when I got that email and discovered what had occurred. But went full-time into the business at that point. So the first official year for Invictus Consulting was actually 2020, but through 2019, we're recognized. I forgot to mention this before. Yeah, we're some little shameless self-plug here, like we're recognized for top 40 under 40 in My Vegas magazine in 2019. That was really great validation, especially after the craziness that had occurred.
Yeah.
2020, a great friend, one of my first friends moving to Vegas, a guy named Ronan Rahman, who very experienced coach, great background. He was in another consultancy firm, saw everything that I was growing and going through in the very beginning days. Like, I want to join that umbrella. Like, let's work together. I'm like, hell yes, I'd love to have you, and it's amazing. So he actually joined Invictus Consulting in 2020, at the end of the 2020 year. 2021, the company was recognized, and my small business, Best of Small Business, Best Business Coach of 2021. Then we were found online through a testimonial, and this is Power BNI actually, a testimonial that was written by a fellow BNI colleague on Yelp. And honestly, shame, like I'm not too big a fan of Yelp personally, but they found me on Yelp, so I'm like, all right, I'll create a profile, set everything up nicely, and the production company for The Profit with Marcus Lemonis found us on there. had some great discussions, emails back and forth, and then they're like, we'd love to have you. And so I got the opportunity to go over to Utah and be a part of the season 8 finale with an incredible company that's out in Utah called Zipkick Homes. And got to spend about half a day with Marcus and that company and the team and talk about culture, communication, and so that was an incredible experience. And then towards the end of the year, we got recognized in New York City Journal with the top 30 business coaches to look out for in 2022. And then, here we are today.
Right.
So it's been a crazy adventure, crazy ride, but it's been incredible.
Yeah. And during that time, like within your first year of having Invictus up and running, this thing called a global pandemic happened.
Then there's that. Yeah.
But I would imagine that in some ways, there could be a good or bad, because yes, that made it difficult to do in-person networking, but it did kind of open up the online networking a little bit more. It doesn't take the place of the one-on-one and look the person in the eye and have the conversation and build the trust. But it gets you out there.
Yeah. David, you mentioned before, like, you're very big on the mental health side of things, right? And be lying if I didn't say that whole pandemic side, being able to actually sit at home and have to actually really think about things and kind of process what's going on, especially in the global situation, it was kind of a healthy situation to some degree of like being able to reflect and think about, okay, what's this direction we're heading in? What's the next steps here? Let's really focus. Well, we have the time, we have to be in lockdown. Let's think about this.
Yeah.
So it was beneficial in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that note, what is the future of Invictus? What's the future for you?
Wow. Loaded question. Honest to God, we're not hunting for other coaches per se, right? Like, we're very much organically growing, where Ronan and I are very crystal clear on the core values and the culture. And so we're looking for people or professionals, coaches, that would love to be a part of that kind of an umbrella where you're not working by yourself. You might be working for yourself to some degree under the umbrella, but you're not by yourself. We're all there to support, and that very much aligns with even the concept of BNI and everything that involves. And it's funny, the alignment, even we do is that way, where it's, everybody gets involved together, right? Yeah. And I think that's the incredible thing. So I'd love to see Invictus grow a team of coaches that genuinely care, that are there to make a difference, not to fill their pockets, right? That's the kind of coaches we're looking for, the people that really want to make a difference and make an impact in people's lives. Yeah. And as we do that and we develop and we grow, it's just continuing to just I think, change one life at a time.
Yeah.
That's it,
It's a great mission. Really great mission to have. Now, as you know, the WeDo platform supports freelancers, contractors, independent workers, creative performers, people that are very much doing their own thing. And there are so many people, and we hear about the Great Resignation, which is kind of the buzzword right now. I don't particularly like it.
No.
I think a lot of that has come from burnout. I call it the Great Burnout as much as the Great Resignation, because people are looking at doing other things. A lot of people out there are employed by a corporation. It's a comfortable place to be. Your salary is predictable, but not necessarily fulfilled. And the world of being entrepreneurial and going out on your own, taking an idea you have and doing it is something that can be very powerful. And a lot of people don't do it because it is scary. It's very intimidating. That's a big bridge to jump over to the other side. So if somebody were to come to you as a business coach and say, Adam, I have this great idea, I have this passion, I really want to do it, but I'm scared, what type of advice would you give them?
A few different things I would say. One thing is, I think it's a bit cliche, and most of us have heard this before, but most of the amazing things happen outside the comfort zone. Yeah. Right? And if you're comfortable, then I feel like that's a red flag. Like, look at that as an opportunity of like, hold on, what's going on here? Like, what can I actually do? How do I get a little bit more uncomfortable and do some amazing things, right? As far as like that fear factor though, at the end of the day, there's many people, there's two frames of thought about it. There's one is, who cares? Just take the leap of faith, go do it, just try. The other one is, know your numbers, right? Because at the end of the day, if you are in that comfortable position, then part of that resistance and the doubt and the fear factor is the fact of, what if I don't get what I have now, and then I'm in a worse off position, and oh no, what am I going to do? Yeah. Right? So if something like that is the thing that's holding you back, then know your numbers. Like put aside enough to like last for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, or whatever it might be, that gets you, that deals with that doubt and the fear, so that you can take the leap of faith with a calculated risk, right? And I think the last part of it, and you mentioned this a couple of times already, is, you know, even in my story of like that reoccurring theme of, I want to do better. I want to do better. I know that there's more out there for me. I may not know what that is, but I just know there's more. And I'm searching for the people and the right people to be with, right? So like that community and the involvement and the belonging, the people that have your back. And, you know, a little shameless plug to BNI is where they say, it's like, I think Dr. Ivan Meisner wrote a book called Who's in Your Room, right? And they talk about like who's actually in your room, who's your support mechanism, who do you want to be around and spend time with. And I think that being around those people and finding those people, right? It doesn't matter how scared you are. Right? And saying in coaching that we love to use, and first time I ever heard it was when Simon said it to me. And I had all this doubt, all this fear. I remember probably the tear or two running down my face at that time. And Simon looks at me and is like, my conviction is always going to be greater than your doubt. And when you find people that have that belief in you.
Yeah. Taking that leap of faith or jumping into something else, there's two reasons why that would happen. You either take the initiative yourself or some external factor forces it on you.
Absolutely.
And you know, for my part, I've had two occasions in my career. One was the job I was in, the division got downsized, I got laid off. After a long tenure with the company, forced me into something else. It's great. And ended up devastating at the time. Nobody wants to lose their job. It's a horrible thing to have happen, but it just presented so many more opportunities. I'm grateful that it happened, I really am. And then the second thing that happened was when I was passed over for a promotion on the job I desperately wanted.
Oh, wow.
And somebody else got the job. It was very upsetting at the time because that was my job. That's the job I really wanted. That was my future. That was my destiny. And I didn't get it. It made me stop and think, okay, what now? Am I happy to just sit here and do this? Or should I cash in on my intellectual capital and go off and do something else? And that's what I did. Took a little bit of time to figure out how, why, didn't do the knee-jerk reaction and say, screw you, I quit. That's kind of what you were doing. But
a little bit, maybe a little bit.
I never did that, but it got me into a better place. So I always say that anything that prompts you to look at something different and take charge and do something will probably benefit you in the end.
Heck yeah. I think, you mentioned the Great Resignation. I've heard that so much lately, right? And I think the last articles in the States, at least, it was November and was it October and November? There were like 4 million people that left their jobs consecutively month by month, right? They're talking about, it's a great resignation, everyone's resigning. And people that are employers are all like, but I can't find good people. It's just tough to. And I'm like, how does that even work? Like, I'm looking at this as like the greatest opportunity almost, where you have the most capital, like social capital workforce there looking for an opportunity. If they're leaving you, it's an opportunity to look at how are you treating your people? How's your business operating? Because if they're amazing and they're operating well, they're not going to leave you. You wouldn't have the Great Resignation happening.
Right.
So maybe people are just getting tired of being treated a certain way and they're looking for better opportunities. And if you're able to present that and communicate in such a way, you have the best team around now.
Yeah.
Because everyone's looking.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's one of your key messages in your coaching to business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, the fear factor of like, what do I do? If you're looking for another opportunity, leap of faith to be a freelancer or do something on your own, there's a lot of people out there, right? Looking for different things. You can really build something very quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Adam, this has been great. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts, your story,
Thank
and
you.
all of the interesting things that you've done in the background to get you to where you are today. And if anybody wants to contact you, what's the best way of reaching you?
Probably, I guess, website might be easiest, I'm thinking. It's Invictus LV for Las Vegas, so invictuslv.com.
Okay.
And then you can also email us at info@invictuslv.com. We do have some free resources, different things. And I always say, I think one of the beautiful things about coaching, really authentically coaching again, is that we're out to make a difference. So, if you're stuck, if you're one of those people out there that's really scared or just conflicted or just not sure what to do next, don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to have a conversation. just a conversation. Even if we just point you in the right direction, get you some contacts, do whatever that's going to help.
Yeah.
We're
Take
more than
that
happy.
first step.
Yeah, we're more than happy to have a conversation to help. Absolutely.
That's very generous and very noble. So
Cheers.
great. Thank you again.
Thank
It's
you
been a
too.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Glad we had this opportunity. Good.
Cheers.
And thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comments below and subscribe to our channel. We upload a new video every week, and we'll see you next time.
We upload a We Do Talk every week, so if you enjoyed this one, please subscribe and leave your comments below.